Hi guys, it's ASBYT and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, I know what you're thinking. Christmas is done, but I never wore a Christmas jumper in any videos, and a lot of you guys are actually asking where mine was this year, so I thought I'd wear it a bit belated, so here it is. Awful. But yeah, so what we're going to do, today we're talking about a smartphone which is on the budget side, but the first edition of this phone was very, very popular amongst many different people from all around the globe, and that was of course the Doogee Mix. Now, the second edition was also hotly anticipated for many reasons, but mainly due to the success of the first one. So I have it here. I've had it for quite a while now, so I have been testing it in all its glory. I didn't want to just throw out a review for you so that you get my honest opinion on whether I think this is a good purchase for you. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that little notification bell if you're new and want to be notified every time I post a new video. So it has had a mixed bag reception so far. So I'm going to talk the good points, the bad points, I'm going to benchmark it, etc. to let you guys know what I think of this product. So first of all, to a quick unboxing. I'm not going to take too long, but as you can see here, it's a fairly matte black finish. I actually prefer the packaging on the original Doogee Mix, but again, most people just look to the product to be improved, so we'll see. So on the front, as you can see, you've just got the Mix 2 there. And at the top, it says Ocean Blue. It just says 6 plus 64 gigabytes, 6 gigabytes of RAM, and 64 gigabytes of storage. This does come in 3 different colors, the Ocean Blue, Gold, and Black. So we're just going to quickly unbox it. And first of all inside, as you can see, is the packaging, and it pops out like this. If you are interested in buying this product after this review, link will be left in the video description, and that contains the best prices that are around at the moment. So straight away, the first thing you're going to notice by that is how reflective this actually is. You can even see me in the back there like a mirror. So yeah, it's in terms of that reflectiveness, I'm not a personal fan. I would prefer a product to be more matte finished, but that's personal preference. You might like the fact that it's very, very shiny. So I'm just going to take this top bit off as well. I'm just going to put this down to one side, and I'm going to see what else is inside the box. The power brick, 2 little USB adapters, so one for the headphone there and one spare one there. We also have the cable as well, so Type-C charging, but as you've noticed from what's included, we have no headphone jack. So there's your first issue for some people. The world is going that way, whether you like it or not, unfortunately, but all the while people are still not quite there with wireless headphones, etc. I would still include a headphone jack. So also in here, so we have our case here. We also have a little booklet, and we have our screen protectors. So nice to see that they do include screen protectors, cases, etc. Just going to throw them on the floor. The actual case is matte black. I personally don't think the case is actually that great though. As you can see on the corners, you do have this little gap here, and it's like that on all 4 corners, obviously to help with the flexibility of it, but it's not a great case, I'm not going to lie. You would snap it in like so. It does fit in quite easily, and that is of course the look of it afterwards. So you just got that thin bezel around the outside of the black. Doesn't quite go personally with the blue. I would prefer them to send a case that is reflective of the actual colour of the device. So if you've got the blue one, send a blue one. Black, black, and gold, gold. It's got brought in a bacon sarnie. That's service, isn't it? That is good. Got brown sauce everywhere. Never eat and record. Schoolboy error. Right. Hopefully I've not now got brown sauce all over my face for the rest of the video. Soon find out when I edit it. So the SIM card slot up the top there, and you also have your Type-C charge down there, and you have your speakers there. On this side, you have your power on, and you have your volume rockers. Now these actually have little grips on them, which I actually quite like. I know some people are mixed about them, but I actually find it quite reassuring to have that grip to it. If you're trying to find it in the night, for example, you just sort of slip your hand over it, you feel it straight away, and you can then obviously turn it on or use the volume. The first thing you're going to notice about this display is it's quite bright and vibrant. I'm not going to lie, it's a pretty nice panel. And this is a 5.99 inch display, so 6-inch display here across, and that is of course the 18:9 ratio. And it is of course a IPS panel. So the resolution is 2160 by 1080, so it is a full HD display. Very good for this sort of budget area. Some of them still do 720, so it is nice to see. Not 4K, but again, you know, you've got to pick your battles with budget products. You're not going to get 4K screens on the whole. And you're going to notice this sort of orange background, which is again very present in the Doogee range, or Doogee. Let me know in the comment section below what you think it is pronounced like, Doogee or Doogee. Love to know. So we have shrunken bezels at the top and bottom. On the old Doogee Mix, the first one, it just had a big bezel at the bottom. So we have actually gained a slight bezel at the top, which we didn't have on the original. For me, I personally don't think this is a sequel. It's a completely different design. I think if they were going to go with the Doogee Mix name, then they should have gone with the bezel-less display and just shrunk the bottom bezel. Similar to the Xiaomi Mi Mix 2, it was that sort of feeling that it was a move on from the original Xiaomi Mi Mix. This one seems completely different. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I do quite like the 18:9 and the 2 bezels. I think it still looks very clean, but I don't think it is a mix. I don't think it's a second version of the Doogee Mix. What I do like about the display as well, you do have the rounded edges on all 4 corners of the display, something that a lot of budget products just have the, completely flat screen. I do like to see the rounded top and bottom because it matches the outline of the product, which again has the rounded edges. Now, in terms of the build quality, it feels like it's made pretty well. It's pretty sturdy. It's slightly heavier than I would like. So again, if you want a light product, don't go with this. It is metal and glass, and it does feel more premium than the original Doogee Mix, which felt a lot more plasticky. So here we just have the Doogee name on the bottom, and we have the dual camera, which we'll get to, and the fingerprint sensor there and the LED light there as well. As you can see, it's an absolute fingerprint magnet. As it's a mirror, you're going to get some serious issues with that. You're going to need to wipe it down unless you have a case for it. It does wipe down completely fine. It looks good as new straight away afterwards. But yeah, you are going to get issues with fingerprints. So the processor on this is the Helio P25, which is, every single phone in this sort of bracket seems to be using that processor, which isn't a bad thing. It's up there with the Snapdragon 600 series. It's probably slightly better than the 600 series of the Snapdragon, but not as good as the 821, the 835 Snapdragon, and the soon-to-be 845, I believe, on some of the newer products in 2018. It is running Android 7.1, and it's a pretty clean experience. On the whole, it feels fairly stock. So as a result of that, there doesn't seem to be really any bloatware on here, which is nice to see. There are a few additions to this skin that they've put on it, but on the whole, like I said, fairly broken phone. It's always good when something like that happens in a review, isn't it? The original Doogee Mix was very interesting in its skin. It had like a weird cap thing that you could pull down from the top. I wasn't a massive fan. They do seem to have cleaned it up a little bit in the same way that TouchWiz on Samsung gets cleaned up every year. They seem to have done this with this one. On the whole, quite a good, nice experience. Right, so because we have 6GB of RAM, we are getting a very fluid experience. I'm not getting any problems really, lags or anything like that. It does feel very nice to use. Everything loads up very slick, very quick. We'll get to the camera. You're not going to have any problems multitasking. Things like gaming, for example, I'm going to just show you the quick benchmark, which I did on Antutu and Geekbench as well, which will be flashing on your screen now, so you can see exactly the sort of performance you're going to get. So real high-end, graphic-hungry games you might have a little bit of a problem with, but on the whole, gaming, media streaming, just using it as a normal phone, you are going to have absolutely no problems. It's going to breeze through, and of course you have the 64GB of storage, so you can store a lot of stuff on here. There is also SD card expansion, so you can of course add to it if you want to, and that's up to 256GB, which is really quite impressive. Right, so onto the fingerprint sensor. As I mentioned before, it is located on the back here, and it's a mixed bag. You need to hit it in exactly the right place for it to, if you're slightly off, it won't quite register, but when you do register, it is pretty quick, as you can see, straight away. So that is quite impressive. A lot of the other budget products, they take 1.5 to 2 seconds to actually work. This one on the whole is actually quite impressive. As you can see there, it just comes on straight away. Right, one of the best things about this phone is, of course, the battery. We are talking a 4060 milliamp battery, so you're going to have absolutely no problems whatsoever with daily use. You're going to get right through the day, sometimes into a second day with quite heavy use, which is very impressive. Again, that's down to the form factor. It's a large phone. So, of course, with a large phone, you can fit a large battery, and they haven't held back with that. It's nice to see. I do like to see phones with batteries over 3,500. I think if you're any less than that, even with the new Android system where it obviously is very good for optimizing battery life, I love seeing that 4,000 milliamps or plus, because it just makes such a massive difference on the use of the phone. Constantly scrabbling for a charger or wireless, or it's a drain on my day, like the battery drains. See what I did there? No. Right, so on to the next one. We are going to talk about the camera, and that's a 60 megapixel and a 30 megapixel on the back. So first of all, when you focus on things, You get a beep which sounds like a fire alarm. In normal light, we're in normal light now, and I'm taking a photo, and you get pretty nice pictures. It's, you know, it's better than the original, I'm not going to lie. It's not quite as good as some of the top phones. But generally on the whole, it works pretty well. So also in the settings, you've got quite a few different sections on here. So you've got like the watermark, you've got the ZSD, you've got capture, you've got anti-flicker, self-timer, you know, all of these different face detection, etc. You've also got HDR here. You've also got face beauty, which if you focus on something, it tends to slightly blur the background. But you also have blur, which is this sort of dual camera. Now, usually when you take the photo, you're thinking it's going to take it. It's a long time. It takes quite a long time to actually take the photo once you press it on the blur. But what you think you're going to get is, of course, a photo which has the person or object in the foreground and then the background blurred due to that dual camera aspect. Sometimes, like the Pixel 2 XL or the Pixel 2, it just has one camera and it has software in order to make that blur effect in the background. A lot of cheap phones tend to do that as well, but they do it really poorly. And a lot of tech reviewers actually on YouTube have actually said that this has got a fake dual camera. And to be honest, in my actual testing, as you can see here, if I'm going to use the blur effect, it's poor, I'm not going to lie, but I don't think the camera's fake, because if you actually cover one of them, as you can see, make sure you're not covering the lens before you start shooting, and that's what I've got here. I've covered that top one, and it says that. So it says make sure you're not covering the lens before start shooting. Now I'm going to release my hand from that lens, and that message goes away. If I put my finger back, again it comes up. So in my opinion, no, it's not a fake camera. Having said that, the picture quality on blur is pretty poor. I'm not gonna lie, it takes ages to actually take that photo, and the actual whole photo is blurred. So it isn't a fake camera in my opinion, but it does nevertheless need a lot of work, whether that's software or whether that's actually the lens. It has the dual camera. The dual camera isn't great. The normal photos come out pretty nicely, especially in bright lights or in normal light. In low light, again, it does. I mean, most cameras at this end of the market in low light are pretty poor. Again, with software updates, it may well improve. So the video quality isn't the best. It is in 1080p only, and it does tend to autofocus quite a lot, constantly bubbles to focus all the time. So again, it's something they could definitely improve in a future product. So on the whole, in terms of the camera, pretty decent normal camera, especially in normal light. In low light, it's not as good. The blur effect using the dual camera is real, but not great. And the video isn't the best either. So it is a real mixed bag on the camera. If you're just there to take photos, it's a pretty decent camera. If you're there to take more other things and you're very into your media in terms of that sort of aspect, then you might want to look elsewhere. But again, it's a budget product. Are you going to find much better elsewhere? That's another question. We're now going to jump onto the selfie camera, the front-facing camera. And this is also where the second pair of cameras comes in. And this uses two 8-megapixel cameras. Right, so also on the front-facing camera, we have video, we have photo, we have face beauty and mono. Right, so the actual second front-facing camera on this phone is a wide-angle lens, which again is quite impressive, especially at this price range. And in order to actually use that, as you can see there's a little button here. So it's on normal, and then if you click on that, it switches to dual, and then you have that wide-angle lens, which means you can take in more of the surroundings. And again, the quality is pretty good. So all in all, I am actually pretty impressed with the general camera. The video camera isn't the best with its autofocusing issues. And of course, the blur effect on the rear camera isn't the best either. But I do like the wide-angle front-facing lens. And the max front-facing video quality is only in 480p. So definitely not a good video camera for front-facing. 1080p for rear-facing, but quite a lot of pulsating autofocus issues. But the actual cameras on both, generally outside of the blur effect, is pretty good. So on the screen now, I'm going to show you the network bands that this is compatible with. So you can actually go through and check whether your providers in your countries and regions actually are compatible with this phone. So to sum up, build quality, pretty good. Colouring, not so good. Don't like the shininess, would prefer matte, but like the fact that it does feel like a premium product. Slightly heavier than I would like, but again, that kind of comes along with the premium aspect. Nice display, 1080p, full HD, very vibrant, very crisp, very bright. It's kind of getting towards stock Android, just a few little tweaks that they could improve on, but again, it's a pretty decent user experience. 6GB of RAM, no issues in terms of multitasking. Benchmarks, as you can see, are pretty standard for the Helio P25 processor, but again, pretty good. So gaming, low end, decent, media streaming, decent, all that sort of stuff. Battery, brilliant, over 4,000, can't complain. Camera, good. For front-facing, crisp, vibrant colours. Low lighting, not as good. And the blur effect, pretty poor. Video camera, pulsating autofocus issues could possibly be changed with an update to software, but I'm not too sure. Front-facing camera, video recording is poor, only in 480p, but the actual camera, we have a wide-angle lens, which I do like, and of course we have a pretty crisp front-facing selfie as well. So all in all, a pretty decent camera. 64GB of storage, which is fairly standard these days, but pretty decent, and you can add up to 256GB. Android 7.1, nearly pretty much the most up-to-date. Whether they update to Oreo is another matter. I would think not, because again, with these low-end products, they tend to want to produce a new product and work on the software updates. So for obvious reasons, they're trying to maximize their profits. It's understandable. Type-C charge, again, an improvement from the other one, which was micro USB. But no headphone slot, so if you're a headphone lover, then you're going to have an issue. Like I mentioned, link in the video description below if you are interested in buying it. That's pretty much it, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this Doogee Mix 2. Whether you think it's something that you might want to purchase with some of your Christmas money, or just in general, if you're looking for a new phone, if your contract's running out and you just want to buy outright and just buy a SIM-only deal, for example. Let me know what you think about this individual product. Like and share if you did enjoy this video and found it helpful. Subscribe and hit that little notification bell if you're new to the channel and want everything tech, whether that be smartphones, Android boxes, tablets, computers, laptops, software, app reviews, all of that sort of stuff. I do it all here, so make sure you hit that subscribe and join the community, which we went over 300,000 the other day, which was absolutely amazing. New Year's resolution, 1 million. It's a tough ask, but that's what I'm confident we can get there with all of your support. So I will love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. ASBYT, peace out.